Filming this on a Friday, but I had this memorized. Happy Silly Yarny Sisters Socktacular Saturday. I did it. I said it. Now can I do it? So Missy over at Missy's Yarniverse and Rainy the Woolly Llama, both linked in the description box below, have put out a fun work along for all the people interested in creating socks. The videos will go out on a Saturday. I don't know if I'll have enough progress made every Saturday, but I definitely have some fun things I can share that are sock related for Saturdays. When I first thought about knitting, it was inspired by socks. I wanted to make the socks. I wanted the Fair Isle detailed socks. When I go to yarn festivals, they all have the socks, and then around the leg band are little sheep. Oh, I wanted to make them so bad. They're so beautiful. But I didn't knit. So somewhere along the line, I have this little basket. And somewhere along the line, we went on vacation to Tahoe. It's state line, so it's Nevada and California. And there's a little yarn shop, and they had sock weight yarn. And I bought some, and the whole trip, I used my phone and I found a pattern to crochet socks. And I crocheted a pair of socks. Not exactly what I had seen at the yarn festivals, but I'm pleased with myself. So these are worked cuff down, cuff to toe. You start with your cuffing. I think this was a single crochet back loop only. It gave a little bit of stretch. There is no nylon or anything elasticy in this sock yarn. And I think it was majority cotton based. I did a little heel flap. I did a gusset. I did the turn. I did the socks. I worked all the way around. I got to the narrow point. I started decreasing. I Kitchener stitched the toes, which means it's a sewing technique that doesn't leave any holes for your toes to poke through. And I made a sock. From the very beginning, the advice I saw all over the internet: make both your socks step by step at the same time. So if you make a mistake, it matches. But not only that, after you make the first one, how intimidating is it to do the whole thing again and repeat it? But if you do cuff, cuff, heel, heel, foot, foot, and then when you get them done, you put them on, and what a thrill. The nature of the beast with crocheting, you're working in the top loops. So you're creating loops on loops, which makes knots. When I walk in these socks, I can feel each and every one of those little crochet stitches. I can. That, and there's no fluff to these. These are very utilitarian. Never wore a hole in them. They were great for getting me going. So I keep them in my little basket. The next step with these little footy socks, again, I just picked up one ball of sock yarn and I thought, okay, this is gonna be enough. I'm gonna make them short so it's enough yardage. Made these little shorties. I got fancy with the heel on this one. I did front loops and back. I only did front loop or back loop depending on if the right side or the wrong side was facing towards me, and it gave that heel a nice little stretch. When I put these on, it really hugs the back of my foot, which was the idea with The cuffs hugging my ankle, that felt good because there's nothing stretchy in these either. It's a very cotton-based sock yarn. So some things are sock yarn, some yarn is sock yarn, and some yarn is sock weight. Not all sock weight is appropriate fibers for making excellent socks, depending on what you think an excellent sock is. Yeah, you gotta make some to figure out what you like and how you critique it and how your foot is shaped, right? So then I moved on. And I found a lacy sock pattern that had no heel. It was just like a stocking. It looked lacy and elegant, and I thought it would be really cute with my boots. I have a little pair of brown leather boots. The toe on it is completely round, like the top of an amigurumi head, and then it was just lace all the way down. These are really cute. These are super uncomfortable. There's no heel, so it always slides down into the bottom of my shoe. And yeah, I could feel all those stitches in there. By the time I got to this pair, I'd already made 3 pairs of socks, and my husband was kind of, well, he wants a pair of wool socks for the winter time. So I got started. I grabbed some sock weight wool, started messing around with measuring. He wanted them nice and tight from, you know, mid-calf down to the ankle, and then his measurements from where his ankle is to where his heel is, you gotta take that into consideration. There's a little ankle part that goes in before you start your heels. I did my heel flap, I did my gusset, all the anatomy of a proper sock. I did my turn, I picked up my stitches, got it all going. There's no stretch in crocheted socks. Crochet just grows and grows and grows. It never goes back into shape. So I thought, okay, well, I've messed around with that quite a bit. They didn't fit him. The heel, the way his foot is shaped, you gotta keep trying them on. He didn't want to keep trying them on, so it's kind of like guessworking. They didn't fit him. So I tried again. Again, a really nice wool. I believe I picked this up at Michael's. Not much stretch into it, so I tried using stitches that stretched. Just a very simple, basic crochet sock pattern out of books that I have. I have quite a few sock knitting and crocheting books that will we can look through together and look at patterns, and we can explore those together in the upcoming weeks. So I have them. I wear them occasionally. I wear all these socks occasionally, like slippers in the house. I put them on, they keep my feet warm. Not super comfortable to wear out and about. Even made, you know, slippers, which are sock shaped, right? So I'm gonna squeeze them in technically. Then I was ready. I was ready to knit some socks. Watched tons of YouTube videos. I really did. I really dove into YouTube videos, any information I could get. What do I start with? And I started with some needles, and they had long circulars and short circulars, and I tried to do 2 at the same time. And then it all got pulled out. I have no evidence of it. Didn't work for me at all. And then I was at a thrift store, and I found some little 9-inch circulars. I'll show you the 9-inch circulars, but I'm not ready to talk about the project yet. 9-inch circulars. Here's the needles, and they're just on this cord. That's it. That's the whole thing. One. And I knit 1 sock. I did. I watched the video step by step. I'll I'll have to find the link to the video. It's just the vanilla sock, vanilla, plain, no flavor, just the basics, knit a vanilla sock. I was so proud of myself. I never finished the second one. The yarn was wrong. Okay, I finally figured out how to, and the lady is really clear to understand the way she records from view down. I can see her stitches. She's talking us through it. She starts from the cuff. She works down to the ankle part. She walks you through the heel flap. And right before she starts the heel flap, this is what got me. Right before she started the heel flap, she said, okay, take a deep breath. Do you know how to knit? Stockinette, do you know how to knit? Which is just knitting in a long, yes, we did that. We did that in the ankle part. Do we know how to purl? Yes, we knit and purled in the cuff. And she said, that's all we're gonna do. She said, you already know from starting this sock what you need to do, and the process of doing it, we're gonna do together. She says, you've got this. I was so relieved because this is the intimidating part of a sock, right? The heel, the flap, the gusset. I mean, that just sounds like a complicated something to do, but no, I knit the sock with one circular. Yarn was terrible. It was a wrong choice of yarn. So I rushed down to Michael's and I bought the Croy's wool sock yarn, and I said, okay. And I found the second 9-inch circular recommended for the type of yarn, and I said, okay, let's do this. And I did this. They're a little stretched out of shape. So crochet is loops on top of loops, which creates a knot. Knitting is loops tucked inside of loops. There's no knot. Knitted socks are so much easier to walk on, especially when you have something on your foot and you're critiquing it in your mind, thinking, I made these, it's not quite right, it doesn't fit quite right. Knitting, after you wear it and you wash it, it goes back to shape, back to the original stitches intended, as they were intended. I did decreasing on the toe, came up to the toe. She showed me how to do the Kitchener stitch to stitch it up so my toe doesn't pop through. They somewhat match too. I bought 2 balls that time just to make sure, you know, it was big box yarn. There was plenty available to me. I bought the 2. It wasn't as expensive as maybe some of this smaller yarn that I'd been working with. I did it. I really truly feel knitted socks. I love my crochet, but each hobby has its attributes, its pros and its cons. And I think, in my personal opinion, I like wearing knitted socks over crocheted socks. So that was in my mind. The first time I went on the Sierra Nevada yarn crawl, I had a blast. I went with my then sister-in-law. We had a great time, and I picked up from Jimmy Bean Wool's warehouse in person. They had a Malabrigo sock, no dye lot, single lot, beautiful hank of yarn. Sock weight, 4 socks with a little bit of stretch to them. They had, what was it? 100% merino wool. I was ready to go. I was gonna knit them up. Remember, I had my 2 9-inch circulars. On the yarn crawl, I bought these little needle stoppers so that my stitches didn't fall off. I put together a little whip bag. While we were on the yarn crawl, we went to a little shop in Tahoe where I had started my journey with the crochet socks. And unfortunately, the shop was having a celebration of life. These shop owners had lost a dear family member to them, and they were doing a fundraiser to save up money. It was a donation base to save up money for expenses for the family, and they were caking up yarn. They had the ball winders out, they were caking up yarn for a donation, and I said, yes, please, because I was still on the yarn crawl, still had a few days of the yarn crawl, and I wanted to sit in the evenings and start knitting vanilla socks with the lady on YouTube. So they said they didn't have a way to, this was all one hank, that they didn't have a way to weigh up the yarn to make sure it was exactly 50-50. And I said, eyeball it. I don't let that stop me. I prefer short socks with short cuffs, and I'm a typical 8.5, 9 foot, which is very average. And so every time I've made socks, I've always had quite a bit left over. I do get one pair of socks out of one, how many yards was that? Average size, 440 yards. I have plenty. So it didn't make much of a difference, but I did get these little yarn socks. They have a lot of funny names on the YouTube streets. I think I feel comfortable just calling them yarn ball band socks. I think on here they're called, it's Buffy Ann Designs, but I guess it doesn't actually have a name on it. But they're little socks to make sure that my cakes don't get all unraveled on themselves. And I put a little kit together, and I started on the trip. I made my cuffs. Look at that. Those are just knit purl one by one. Knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. I cast on 72 stitches here, working all of my cuff, which is extra stretchy, plush, and look, it goes right back to what it was supposed to. I did all that knit, stockinette, did all of that. I got ready to break off. I even used cute little stitch markers on it. Oh, I picked these up along the way. I had a great time. And I did them cuff, cuff, leg, leg, and now I was ready to start the heel. I turned the video on. Now, I'm not a confident knitter. I'm not confident. Like, she is instructing me each motion of the way, holding my hand through this whole process. I got to the heel flap, where you separate the front of the sock from the back of the sock. It's an even amount of stitches. I counted from 72 from the beginning, cast on, and I still have 72, cast on 72, still got 72, split it in half, put my stitch marker from the half. Now I have a front and a back. So now I'm getting ready to do that heel flap, that part that goes around the back of your foot. I believe I was working an overnight shift. I'd already gotten back from the Grand Adventure. I don't know what happened. I got distracted somehow. I don't remember. It was a cold, stormy night. I don't remember what happened. I got lost somewhere, and I don't know how I got lost, because even in my kit, I had little check-off charts where I've got wrong side and right sides noted. I have each step written down in case I lost internet and she couldn't hold my hand through the whole thing. Something happened, and all of a sudden I realized that for a very long time, I hadn't been turning after each row. I hadn't been turning right side to wrong side. By the time I figured it out, it looked wrong. This heel, it's kind of dark yarn, but can you see that little pattern design on it from each way that you turn? It's a knit purl, that's all that it is. But it's got a little bit, that's kind of dark yarn to see. Maybe this one's a little lighter. It's really hard to see that design on it, but the actual stitches make this nice little texture with a little bit of squish. It kind of holds like a cuff kind of. It was wrong. It looked wrong. So I stopped. And because I'm not a confident knitter or confident in this at all, I'm a baby newbie on this, I didn't know what to do. So I rolled it all up. I put it back in my bag. I tucked it away for a really long time. I was talking to a friend who likes to knit, Teresa, over at Phoenix Gate Crafts, sorry. And she said she was thinking about putting out tutorials, like little how-tos just to help people along. And I said, you know what? I need a lifeline. I've heard of them and I needed one so that I could run a thread through my project. You could do it at any time, but I needed to run one through so that way when I ripped out and unraveled these live stitches, I didn't drop any, I didn't lose any of them, and that my count would stay the same. And I could unravel that whole heel and start back to the same. I'd only messed up on one, hadn't begun the heel on the other. She said no problem. She put out an amazing tutorial. I will link Teresa's tutorial and her channel in the description box below. I followed it. I did very, very well with it. I ripped that. I was able, with her instruction, hold my hand, I was able to rip it all out. I have 72 stitches and 72 stitches and I'm back to square one. And I was so nervous. Didn't know what to do. So I'd ripped it out. I've got this lifeline in here, which was a total learning experience. Couldn't have done it without her. And then I wound it all back up, tucked them in on themselves, tucked them back into my project bag, and I haven't visited it since. It's been over a year. These are dusty old whip socks. Until as of recently, Missy and Rainey decided that Saturdays would be a socktacular day for silly yarny friends to get together and crochet and knit and make socks and do the sock thing. So kicking and screaming, I am going to jump on board with them and move past this. With help and accountability, it should be just fine. So what else do I have in this little bag? I got these notes, these old notes where I've started heel instructions, and I made myself a little chart so I could remember how many rounds or repeats I was working on. These notes mean nothing to me today. In the moment, I'm sure they were really helping me, but the plan is to go back to the vanilla sock tutorial, hold the lady's hand, I forget her name, hold her hand and let her walk me through this process one more time. I have an emotional support chicken given to me. I won the emotional support chicken from Amanda, obsessive crochet lady. I will post her in the description box below because she has been helping me through this whole journey, but my emotional support chicken will help me get these socks done. So I'm gonna keep all these in here. Along the way, I went on an adventure to a grand opening of an LYS, and I made a purchase to help support the shop and get them up and going. This is a sock roller. Socks are intended to be worn with 10% negative ease. So you make them 10% smaller than what your foot is so that it'll have some stretch and some hug and it won't be too loose on your foot. I think that was the problem here. If only I would have known that. It's okay. Measurements are shown are finished sock length, not the foot length. So we have shoe size for men and women, and then it shows you measurements on this side, how long you should make each section of the sock. I guess as we move forward, we can talk about the different sections of the sock, but typically cuff, leg, heel, foot, and toe, which isn't too much, right? It's not too much. It's doable. It's definitely doable. Look, I've done it. All right, so I'm gonna tuck all of this away and forget about it till next Saturday. No, setting a goal for myself. By the time I come back next Saturday, I will have a heel flap on both of these. Hold me to it. A heel flap on both of these. Okay. I said it. I'm throwing it out there into the universe. Missy's Yarniverse will catch it. All right. Thank you. Thank you. I'll see you soon. Bye.